Today, we're going to learn how to multiply decimals by tens, hundreds, and thousands. So let's recap what we already know. When I multiply a whole number by ones, tens, thousands, my exponent tells me how many zeros I will have. So how many tens I am multiplying by. So 363 times 1 is essentially saying 363 times 10 to the 0, because there's no zeros, there's no tens being multiplied. So 363 times 10 to the first means 363 times 10. And that gives me a times 10 jump from the 1 to the 10 to the first. So that's 3,630. Now, 363 times 10 to the second is another times 10 jump. From 1 to 2, I'm adding a 10. So 110, 210, 300, or 36,300. Now, 363 times 10 to the third. It's another jump of times 10. So 110, 210, 310, 110, 210, 310. Gives me 363,000, and that's it. There's no numbers back here in the ones period. Now, the same thing is going to happen when I use a decimal point. Let's look at the chart. I'm going to put a decimal point to separate the ones and the tenths place. Why do you think I need to do that? Right, so I can see where my decimal is. Because when I multiply a decimal by a power of 10, that decimal is going to move. That decimal will move. So, a digit in one place is worth 10 times more when moved to the place on its left. So when it goes up the place value chart, it's going to be 10 times a jump. It's going to be worth 10 times. So again, if you need to, times 10, times 10, times 10. But the same thing can be said about your decimals too. To go from tenths to ones, it's a times 10 jump. From hundredths to tenths, it's a times 10 jump. You multiply by 10 to get bigger. Every time a number is multiplied by 10, the digits of the number shift to the left. So they're going to move over a spot on the place value chart each time. Let's look at this. So 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the first. So 3 and 63 hundredths. My decimal is going to move one place. It gives me 36 and 3/10. You can double check yourself off the chart. Let's keep looking. 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the second, meaning I have 2 tenths. So I'm going to write my working number, 3 and 63 hundredths. 1, 2. Where that decimal ends is where I write the new number. So that one gives me 363. And you can say 0.0 if it helps your brain to see it. Now, 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the third. So I'm going to write my number again. This is what I call a working number. A working number is just what I'm using to show my work. So I have 3 tens. 1, 2, 3. I have 3,630. as my final number. And I can double check. 3,630. Because my decimal, 1, 2, 3, would be the same if I had to move the decimal back. And over here, it talks about the number pattern. It shows you the exact same thing. So 3 and 63 hundredths times 1 is the same as saying 3 and 63 hundredths. 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the first, meaning you move the decimal one place. It's going to move over one place, gives me 36 and 3/10. 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the second. Again, I'm going to have 2 jumps. 1, 2. It gives me 363. 3 and 63 hundredths times 10 to the third. I have 3 jumps. 1, 2, 3. And I got a blank space, baby, and I'll hold your place. Got to put a placeholder 0 because I went further than what the number had digits for. When you go more than what your number has digits for, you have to add a 0 to hold the place because there's nothing there, but there is something there. You just have to put a 0 to show that. Let's look at some examples. And if it helps you, you can write them out right here. So 42 and 3/10 times 1. Does my decimal need to move anywhere? No, you're right. I just have 42 and 3/10. My page has a typo. There should be a 1 there. All right. 42 and 3/10 times 10 to the first. Right. I'm going to move it 1. So that gives me 423. 42 and 3/10 times 10 to the second. I'm going to use my working number knowledge down here so I have a space to write out my work. 1, 2. I have a blank space. What do I need to put here? Right, a 0. So 4,230. Well, let's keep looking. Ooh, this one starts out with decimals. This one's tricky. Go slow. 86 thousandths times 10 to the first. That means 110. I'm going to move my decimal 1 spot to the right. So if my decimal moves 1 spot to the right, right, 86 hundredths. Ooh, this time they're not giving me exponents. They're making me think. 86 thousandths times 100. What do you think? Maybe. How many zeros do I have? Right, 2. So I know that decimal is going to move 2 tens, right? 1, 2. So I get 8 and 6/10. Is that what you got? Let's look one more time. How many zeros do I have? 3. Good. So that means I'm going to move 3 times. 1, 2, 3. And I get straight up 86. So if you notice the pattern with place value, my decimal just shifts 1 place to the right each time I multiply by 10. Let's look at some guided practice, or some extra practice. Sorry, wrong word. 63 and 7/10 times 10. So 63, 7/10. I'm moving, right, 110. So my decimal is going to move 1 place. 637. Make sure your teacher knows how you showed your work. So I would always recommend writing to show your work, and then writing the number again right underneath it. Let's look at number 13. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. Now, so far, we've only read up to the thousandths place, but you have to say it where it stops. So, $99,463 10,000ths times 10 to the second. Sorry guys, that took me a hot minute to figure out. So I'm going to write my decimal again. 9 in the tenths, 4 in the hundredths, 6 in the thousandths, 3 in the 10,000ths. My decimal is moving how many places? Right, 2. 1, 2. So I get 94 and 63 hundredths. Let's look down here at number 16. So now you're going to tell me how many times the decimal moved. I'm starting with 629 thousandths, and I'm ending with 62 and 9 tenths. How many places did that decimal have to move? How many times did it have to jump? Well, let's count. 1, 2. Hey, you were right. It's 2. Let's do another one. 10 to the times 56 thousandths gives me 560. Ready to count? How many times is my decimal going to jump? Is it going to move to make my number say 560? Well, let's write it out so we can have a working number. And let's put your theory to the test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you are off by 1. It's 4. And if you got it, way to go. I hope this has helped, and I'll see you guys again really soon. Bye.